Well, hey guys, my name is Wes, and I'm the campus pastor at our Highland campus, and I'm here to share with you this week some stuff on our Week 5 discussion of financial guardrails. A quick thing before we start. We ended our Sunday morning sermon series this week talking about financial guardrails. There is one more session left on your DVD, and we want you to do that as a group. So even though we will not do a guardrails message this weekend, still make plans next week to meet as a group and do session 6. It'll be a great wrap-up for our study time together. I wanted to share with you 3 quick and practical things for you to think about in your group leadership this week. And the first is simply, let's acknowledge an elephant in the room today and say, for a lot of us as group leaders, there's a tension because we know where God has called us to, and we're not there yet. You know, in regards to our giving, maybe in regards to your debt, or your savings. I don't know what that issue looks like for you. But for many of us, we know we're not where we need to be financially right now. And we can feel kind of awkward or hypocritical leading that discussion. I want to encourage you, for me, I've found as a teacher, a lot of times I'm required to lead a discussion on something where I'm not all the way there yet. I'm still journeying and learning along with the rest of you. That doesn't change the fact, though, that there's a lifestyle or there's something that Jesus has called us to. And as leaders, it's our requirement and it's our calling that we need to help challenge the people God has placed in our path to live up to that as well. As a community group leader, I'd love to encourage you, be open, be honest, be authentic about where you are financially and sharing your story there. But also don't be afraid to challenge and push because, there's always going to be a tension in our lives between the real and ideal in just about every area. I'm always going to have room to grow in terms of loving other people. I'm always going to have room to grow in terms of my grace and forgiveness of others. And financially, guess what? I'm always going to have room to grow. I'm never going to arrive. It's always a journey. And so wherever you are in the journey, I want to encourage you as a group leader, don't feel like you have to compromise on what Jesus says just because of where you are in the journey. Use that as an example where you can challenge and push your group members to live up to the awesome thing God has called us to do with our lives. Second thing I want to talk to you about here today is to say this. Encourage values conversations to happen with members of your group, whether as a couple or maybe just individually. Create some new categories for people. I think, honestly, a lot of times we struggle financially because our culture has just created these categories. Like, we can't imagine life without a student loan or without a credit card debt or without, a car payment or a house we can't afford, right? And not that your one group meeting is going to totally change everyone's financial world, though maybe it will, I don't know. I'd love to encourage you to say, hey, what would life look like without more credit card debt? Or what would life look like if maybe I save for my car instead of feeling like I had to buy a new one every however many years, Encourage those conversations because I think that opens up a new category for us and it opens up an opportunity for God to shape and move in our values a little differently. And so I'd love to encourage you in every question this week, look for an opportunity to encourage people to think about finances a little differently than maybe our culture teaches us. And also, help encourage people to look for opportunities where they can push couples to have those values conversations or singles to have those values conversations on their own this week. Final thing I want to share with you is actually about a particular question in your group guide. Question 3 deals with the issue of greed. And for me, this is the most important question we deal with this week because debt or hoarding or wherever you fall in that continuum, those are symptoms. Greed is the root cause. It's the root sin that causes those issues in our lives. And so I'd love to encourage you, help your group, and don't be afraid to spend a majority of your time there this week, helping your group understand what does greed look like in their lives? How does that play out? Someone in our group this week shared an awesome example where they talked about they got a new job with more money, more benefits, and they said, my first gut reaction wasn't, how can I use this to bless others or further the kingdom of God? Their first thought was, how can I use this to get more stuff for me? And I thought that was a great example of, that's what greed plays out like in our lives. And so generate some conversation there. Help people see what that looks like. Because I think as we deal with the issue of greed, we deal with a lot of other stuff financially as well. That's all I've got to share for you this week. Hope that was helpful. And I'm praying for you guys as you have your group conversations this week. Thanks for all you're doing to be used by God to change lives. Thanks, guys.